Current copy of the Open Meetings Act, which is posted on the west wall of the meeting room and accessible to members of the public. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the consent agenda as presented. Approval of the agenda as submitted. Approval of minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting on July 13th, 2020. Approval of the special hearing minutes, July 13th, 2020. Approval of budgetary receipts and expenditures for July 2020. Approval of minutes of the special meeting July 28th, 2020. Approval of option students, and excuse the absence of John Zimmerman.
Second.
Do I have any questions? Are you going to give your report?
Yep. Quick treasurer's report. Bills totaled $384,362 for the month. Payroll $1,604,403. So total expenses for the month were $1,988,766. As expected, revenue is relatively lean for the month of July and August. That's pretty typical. So revenue is at $733,794. There is good news. We are 11/12 of the way through the budget cycle, and we've spent 86.77% of our budget authority, which means there's 13.23% of the budget authority remaining. When we equal that out to dollars, when we do the math on that, that equates to about $3.2 million of unspent revenue at this point. So a lot of that we know is due to the combination of COVID and the situations where we haven't had to pay out some contracts and some things, but it also is, I think, a conscientious spending on the part of the district and everyone involved. So just a quick update on the budget process and where we are. We will wrap up the budget cycle on August 31, and then of course, as you know, September is when we have our annual budget hearing and sets the tax asking, so that's coming up.
Thank you. Your votes, please. Motion passes 6-0. Next up is approval of the proposed accounts for payment. A motion, please.
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the listing of payments as presented.
Second, please. Any questions? Your votes, please. Motion passes, what was it, 5-0 and 1 abstention?
Yep.
Oh, and now we have outstanding recognition. Dr. Nielsen with our Employee of the Month.
Absolutely. We are excited to come back to our Employee of the Month, and I'm going to have Don Holtis come on down. Packing breakfast and lunches is no easy feat, especially when you are trying to meet federal guidelines to ensure our students are receiving nutritious and delicious meals in a brown or white paper bag. During fourth quarter, our nutrition services staff, along with teachers, administration, and para-volunteers, were superheroes bringing breakfast and lunches to the students in Beatrice. Under the direction of Don Holtis, our elementary, middle, and high school staff distributed breakfast and lunches across the town. At the beginning of the service, staff realized that we needed to expand our services. So we added more stops across the town and found more volunteers to help distribute the meals. Additionally, throughout the summer, Nutrition Services has been planning extensively and shifting how they will operate this year. They will be prepackaging items, ordering packaged silverware while determining whether we should order forks or spoons and forks, determining ways to ensure lunch is provided with a lot of variety, and so much more. Food service is a staple of what schools provide. Without Dawn, their awesome crew, and the many wonderful volunteers who would not have been able to continue to take care of the students in Beatrice. They problem solved and found a way to get the meals served in the most efficient way possible. We would like to recognize the entire crew who helped deliver meals to keep students fed. Congratulations and thank you for everything that each of you do for UPS. Probably, there we go. Yes. And Doris has something for you.
She does a great job.
Thank you.
Now we have a new award this month, Business Friend of the Month.
Okay, so, yes, as we talked about last month, we wanted to start a Business Friend of the Month for Beatrice Public Schools, which honors a business that has been particularly supportive, which we know most of them, all of them have been here in Beatrice, so we're very fortunate that way. There are many worthy businesses of being the Beatrice Friend of the Month for Beatrice Public Schools, and we will get to each one of them in time. We are so thankful for each business being supportive and helpful of our staff and students. This month, we selected the Beatrice Community Hospital, which has been nominated to be honored as the Beatrice Public Schools Business Friend of the Month. The entire staff at the hospital has been so helpful in the past few months, sharing information and helping with our return to school plan for 2021, that whether at a ball game or a tennis match, if there is need for medical advice or assistance, there is always a hospital staff member present and willing to lend a hand and support an injured player or a fan in need of assistance. We've come to know, trust, and appreciate the doctors, nurses, assistants, and staff that are willing to help in a time of need. Beyond medical advice, Beatrice Community Hospital provides opportunities for our youth that are interested in future careers in medicine to job shadow. They are very welcoming to work with our students who are interested in the medical field. Beatrice Community Hospital has been an active member in supporting our other endeavors, including sponsorship for the Ozone Digital Video Board, financial support for many, if not all, of our youth athletic programs in the community, and all of our coaches and athletes in middle school and high school sports. In short, Beatrice Public Schools is extremely blessed and grateful to have business friends like the Beatrice Community Hospital. So, Mr. Trustee, we are asking that as a member of that staff, you accept the award. Thank you.
Speak.
Next up is the information portion of the board meeting. First, we have board reports. Mr. Winter with a report on stance.
Yeah, the stance report is pretty much still in limbo because it all revolves around the property tax relief bill. It appears that they have enough votes to pass the property tax relief bill, but it, excuse me, it is at a state right now where they're expecting maybe another one or two amendments to be added to the bill, one of which I believe is revolving around the promise of funds for future for the schools that goes along with that was always the one that the lobbying group was kind of wanting to make sure got involved with that bill before it got passed. The legislature was in recess today. They will take it up tomorrow. They thought tomorrow and Wednesday it would be passed. And again, there's quite a broad spectrum of comments on the bill out there. Some saying it's only a pittance of what they were hoping for property tax relief, and others saying it's just the greatest thing there is. So it's going to be a toss-up. Everybody's going to have to make their own opinion after you see the highlights of the bill. But that's the extent I have of that report.
Thank you. Next up, public forum. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? The discussion portion of the board will include an update on the lightning strike, and Terry Brethauer will do that.
We needed some more excitement. I don't know if you're aware of all the stuff that was damaged, but frequency drive for the cooling tower motors, that got basically fried. We got it doctored up to keep it running. Without that, there's no air conditioning in the high school. So it was pretty important that we get that one going again. So we got it running. Hopefully it stays running long enough until the new one comes in. We got a number of heat pumps that we got, most of them with circuit boards on them. Got fried. We had a check valve for the cooling tower, so we're running on one pump out there. The other pump we had to shut off because the check valve got damaged. One of the compressors for the practice gym, it got damaged, so we got a new one of those coming. A number of control boards for heat pumps, and Johnson Controls, which controls all our heat pumps, their circuit boards was also damaged. We got, our main concern right now is to get the frequency drive in. The heat pumps, most of those were in the hallway, so it's not quite as important, but we got to get all the stuff ordered. It's all coming. It's just a matter of when we can get all that stuff put in. Big item that I was a little nervous with is our fire alarm panel. It got hit. There's 7 cards in the panel. 3 of the cards got fried. So security services here in Beatrice, they came in and we took some of the stuff that was on those cards and moved them to other cards. So the fire alarm panel doesn't read correctly, but everything works. Plus the building is 100% sprinkled. So when I called the fire marshal to talk to him to find out if he had any problem with us holding school areas, since the building is 100% sprinkled and that we have everything covered, even though it's not correct, it's still covered, he was fine with that. We would probably be looking at sometime in Christmas break, because all the devices in the school have to be changed. There's over 100 detectors. There's pull stations, strobes, all that stuff has to be changed because we have to bring the panel up to code now. And plus we can't get parts for the panel that we have in there. So everything has to be all changed out. The voice activation system for the at-home theater, that also got damaged. We got a new one of those ordered. Hopefully that'll come in sometime or another. We had a couple cameras and some power supplies that got damaged. Diode has replaced a couple of the cameras and the power supply. We couldn't open the west doors to the school with our key fobs. The elevator, it also got damaged. There's some switches in there. So cone came down. They're going to replace the part. I'm not sure if we'll get it accomplished by the time school starts or not, but they got it on a rush order to get that fixed. Then the phones is another big item. Right now, with what I have on here, and we still don't know if anything else is damaged. We've been running everything, but we're over $75,000 just in components, and that doesn't include a lot of labor. So it was a very expensive ordeal. Any questions?
I remember Mr. Alexander saying that he was worried when you were worried, so I guess the worry was necessary.
Well,
So
that-
insurance covers most of this, right, except obviously our deductible?
Except for the first 25,000, which was really expended when the fire alarm panel went, because it was right at 25,000. So,
When you go out to the high school at 4 in the morning and there's no parking lot lights and the fire alarm panel's blinking all kinds of red lights are flashing and no lights in the building, you know that we got a problem. But for the most part, everything is best we can up and running, but we're still waiting on a lot of parts.
I think, Terry, first of all, thank you for being here tonight and giving a report, but also thanks for your attention to detail, because I think there's a tremendous amount of intricacies that go into every one of these systems that operates at the high school that, you know, to the average person, they have no idea how much goes into it. And when whether we're talking about the HVAC system and the circuit pumps and the variable frequency drives and the circuit boards that control that, or whether we're talking about the fire alarm system, there's just, it's system after system that Terry does a nice job of keeping track of, and I appreciate your attention to detail on this. We are going to keep the claim open through the first of the year, because as we come back from school, there could still be computers and things like that we're still not aware of. So we appreciate the work of our insurance company helping us out with that, and we'll continue to investigate. But Terry, thanks for being here tonight, and thanks for your diligence on that.
You're welcome.
Terry, you said something about the control panel that controls all of the heating that isn't ours. Does it belong to?
But Johnson Controls,
Yeah.
we have to purchase all their controls. Basically, they run the system, but we have to buy the circuit boards because it's our equipment. Those are what we have to.
I was just curious about
replace.
that, how that was.
They're working with us on getting staff here to get those replaced and getting that stuff ordered. But most of that stuff, everything out there we owned.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
You're welcome.
Now, if you can slow down the excitement, that'd be appreciated too.
Next, we'll hear about COVID-related staff procedures. Mr. Alexander.
Okay, I'll just take a brief period of time here to talk to you a little bit. Like I said before, we've spent a great deal of time talking about student return protocols and procedures, but we wanted to take just a moment and update you on some of the employee procedures and how they relate to the pandemic that we're involved in. So, we did have a volunteer staff meeting last Thursday at 1 o'clock, where we just told our staff, you're not required to attend, but we would be glad to update you on some of the frequently asked questions that have come to us through a previous meeting with the Beatrice Education Association, and then talk to them about any other questions they might have, and also update them on the procedures and protocols related to the COVID pandemic. So we sent several documents to them, but one of them was the document on employee rights, which is on the screen up there, and basically it outlines the Federal First Coronavirus Act rights that were initiated and enacted on April 1st, and will run through December 31st this year. At that point, we'll have to wait and see what's decided upon as we get further into the year. But it just basically outlines what an employee is eligible for, and to what level they're paid for the basis of what time period they may need to be gone. So it does allow for an employee that is subject to a federal, state, or local quarantine, isolation order, or related COVID-19 mandate, has been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine, or is experiencing COVID-19 symptoms and is seeking a medical diagnosis. They are allowed up to 10 days of leave time, full pay through this Family First Coronavirus Act. And then the other part of that is that they are allowed, if they are an individual caring for a subject in an order described in the 3 previous requirements, so a COVID-related quarantine, or is caring for his or her child whose school or place of care has been closed, or is experiencing any other substantially similar conditions specified by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, they also fit into that category. So there's 10 days of leave time for employees that's initiated through FFCRA, and then of course the leave time can run congruent with the Family Medical Leave Act if that's necessary for up to 12 weeks paid time, or unpaid time. But in between there is the employee's negotiated agreement time, which every employee has up to 7 days of leave time, sick time that they can take. If they've been here long enough, then an accrued balance of sick time within their bank, which is accruable up to 60 days, they can use that time also as leave time if necessary for paid leave. So there is an extensive amount of time available for employees, so we went over that with them. We also received a flow chart, which I think we've shown you before, but just for the purpose of explanation, a flow chart from our legal counsel that explains to employees how they go about requesting these. For everybody's knowledge, we have already had 2 requests for FFCRA time, so we do have staff that are accessing this leave. It's a good thing that it's in place for the government and from the government for us to utilize, and it's a good program for our staff. So I think we were able to answer everybody's questions and how to access it and what the process was. And like I said, we've already had 2 staff members that have utilized it. So. That's all.
Thank you. Next up, Administrators Report, Back to School 2020-21. Dr. Nielsen and Mr. Alexander.
Okay, it has been a fantastic start of the year. We have 12 new teachers, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you. I'm hoping you can hear it. We can't? Well, I will just... So there they are, House of Orange. Okay, Emily Dean is at the middle school. She is teaching science at the middle school, 6th grade science. Here they are on our scavenger hunt. Kylie Cole is at Stoddard, and she is doing resource at Stoddard. Yeah. I'll just be their voice. Plus, Monica had an awesome article in the paper, too, about them. Jenny Hofer is preschool, and she is doing 3-year-olds. So she's one of our 3-year-old teachers at preschool. Kristen Banahan is doing speech-language pathology at the preschool. And she will also do some home services as well for our birth to 3 kiddos. And I can send this to you electronically so you can hear where they all want to go. Alex Edwards is math at the high school. Hannah Mites is 1st grade at Paddock Lane. Marissa Croft is preschool. She will be our other 3-year-old teacher as well. Lacey Johnson is 4th grade at Paddock Lane. Kirstine Rios is kindergarten at Paddock Lane. Ashley Hoffman is family consumer science at the middle school. Melanie Slama is PE at the middle school. And we are, well, I just noticed we were missing Andrew Linneman, didn't we? see who's not in there. Andrew Vinneman is high school English. And the cool thing is Hannah Mites and Andrew Vinneman, both graduates from BPF. So, yay! Welcome back. Things are going really well. So we had great new teacher days, and they were excited to go on the scavenger hunt round. We had the BEF provide lunch for them. It was fantastic just because they like to be fed and they enjoy food. We all enjoy food. So it was a very nice time where they could socialize with the foundation members as well. That was new this year that we added. Our back to school days are going well. We started off with Brian Mindler on Friday and as our speaker. Talked to us and gave us ideas of how to help struggling students, how to engage them. So that was fantastic, but we have spent a lot of time talking about technology and talking about how do I use technology and how am I going to make sure that I can record lessons correctly and make sure that I get technology out to students accurately as possible and quickly as possible when Tier 4 happens, or even during Tier 3, or right now with some of our students who are doing remote learning at this point in time. But it has been very productive. Our teachers have been very busy, and they have tomorrow to continue with the technology piece. We'll also do a little bit of training for our standard response protocol, because there is a change to that, so we need to make sure that we update staff on that change. And then Wednesday, the students are here. Yay, what we've been waiting for 6 months. Yes, we're so excited they're back. Yes. So, very exciting, very, and I, when I go around into the buildings, talk to the teachers, they're getting very excited. They're very excited to be back, and we are all just crossing fingers that Tier 2 is where we live, and where we live for this whole year. That we don't have to experience Tier 3 or 4, because we want to be in the building with the kids. So we're very hopeful. Yes. Any questions about back to school? Yeah.
All right. I'll just flow right from that right into my superintendent's report. So I had the opportunity to, we had a virtual fall activity gathering with the Trailblazer Conference, so I put together a little slideshow to welcome all the coaches and activity sponsors back to school, that eventually we hope to be an in-person meeting for the Trailblazer Conference, but because of the situation, obviously we weren't able to do that. So we had a virtual evening where we brought all the coaches and sponsors together of their particular activities for the fall sports and all the things that go on. We kind of introduced and welcomed them, and as the president of the conference, I had the good fortune to be able to do that. So we had a slideshow for them that focused on the key components that we were focused on as a conference. It played to the Cirrus Tunnel Walk music, the Husker Tunnel Walk music, and then transitioned right into the different schools that are part of the conference. So it was a nice evening. The coaches got a chance to get together in chat rooms and discuss their activities as they are planning and get to know one another. And as I said, hopefully in the future, either we want to do it twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring, where we can bring everybody together and just have a good fellowship organization that focuses on promoting the good of what our kids do every year. So it was a good evening. That was kind of the welcome presentation for them. So as that's wrapping up, I'll just continue to talk about some other great things that have transpired. A thank you to our parents for all who signed up and for our transportation services, and then under the conditions we're in, opted to find transportation to help alleviate the overcrowding on the buses. We sent an all-call out to parents, and we were very fortunate that many of the parents responded respectfully. They responded in a manner that helped us get the social distancing numbers, or the numbers down to where we could appropriately social distance on the buses. And we just appreciate and thank the parents who were willing to do that, so they were able to find alternate transportation for their student. This is not an easy situation. It's not easy for any of us, and as we move through the year, there's probably going to be more situations that are not easy, but it is nice to see people come together and work together on a situation and get it to where we need it to be in order to provide as much of a service as we can given the circumstances we're under. So
Jason, did you have to go to the lottery?
We did have to go to the lottery.
You did.
We did. And what it came down to is about 12 students that were not able to get a ride, so there's, a dozen. And upon discussion with their parents, they said, you know what, we can make this happen, and so we appreciate their cooperation. Budget preparation is in the works, meeting with Bryce Wilson via Zoom on Wednesday, the NDE financial advisor, just to run some things by him for some topics that once we have that in the works, and of course, valuations don't come out until August 15th, so anxiously awaiting those numbers. I did email the county assessor today, and so we'll see if she responds tomorrow, so hopefully we can get a number there to really hone in on things, but looking forward to being able to work on that for a while instead of the COVID situation. So, board policy planning process, as you know, we did embark on the process of revamping all of our policies with Perry Law Firm last spring. We talked about that and voted up to pursue that. So we've been in our spare time working on that, so to speak, and we do, I think, have one of our policy sections ready to go. We're just doing a final walkthrough on it, and we'll have it ready for the August committee of the whole for presentations. So we'll either have one or two. It just kind of depends on how much we're able to get done here in the next 2 weeks. So looking forward to the upcoming September meeting. It will involve obviously the budget portion of the year, where we'll be looking at the district budget and making recommendations for it. That's all I have, unless there's questions. Oh, I do have one more thing. Kind of talking about Steve's presentation and regarding the legislative update. Out of the group of 10 came the Super 7 proposal, which is attached to LB 670, LB 1107 that Steve talked about. And basically there's 4 components that are going into the factors of this decision. And it's LB 720, which is the Imagine Nebraska Act. There's been some caps put on it in the negotiation process. LB 984, which is the UNMC project, which has been tagged at $50 million a year for 6 years beginning in FY24, fiscal year 24. The property tax credit adjustment that Steve mentioned, and then some urban workforce housing, up to $10 million for that in fiscal year 21. So what it means is our unicameral has come together and found a compromise now that they feel through the components of those 4 things and the details within those 4 things, they can come to an agreeable solution that meets everybody's needs, whether it be LB 720 Imagine Act, property tax relief, the UNMC project, and urban workforce housing accomplishments in the urban areas. They feel like they have the votes to get that done. Now, as Steve mentioned, we have roughly 2.5 to 3 days left. The speaker did not leave additional days at the end of the session to come back for it. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully there can be a compromise made that will fit everybody's needs as we wind down the session here. And then, believe it or not, in 4 months we start back up. So that is the end of what I have.
Thank you.
Yep.
The next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be September 14th, 2020 at 7 p.m. in the Administration Building. The Committee of the Whole meeting will be August 27th, 2020 at 6 p.m. in the Administration Building. An agenda for the meeting, which shall be kept continually current, is readily available for public inspection at the Superintendent's office during normal business hours. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 adjourn.
Thank you. Your votes, please. Motion passes 6-0. We are adjourned.